Hello and welcome back to the channel. I've often said that microcamping is just a means to an end to allow me to experience the wonderful British countryside, see the sights, the attractions, meet the people and learn something about the local history. All the things that you catch me making is there to make my experience that little bit better, that make my van a little bit more comfortable. Something that entered my head recently is that I often find myself on a campsite, or I find a nice place to park up for the night, and I'm often that little bit too far or further away from either the attraction or the village or the pub, or you get the idea. If you're on a campsite and you decide, oh, sod it, I'll go for a pint, and you get in your van and you drive off the 2 or 3 miles down the road, go to the pub and come back, you often discover that somebody has nicked your spot. So I've been looking for an alternative to walking, an alternative to driving off and missing my spot. I recently took a day out and visited the NEC Camping and Caravan Show in Birmingham. A day I enjoyed immensely, but I have to say there wasn't a lot for those following the microcamper lifestyle. A few roof tents, the odd boot jump and the odd side awning. I think being at the cheaper end of the market, the industry is leaning towards the more expensive motorhomes, tents and caravans. I did notice, however, there was a large number of cycling exhibits, and this got me thinking. Although I've always had a bike of one sort or another since being a child, I wouldn't nowadays describe myself as being a keen cyclist, though I still do have a number of bikes that are happily rusting away in my garden shed. So the notion of taking a bike along on my trips has not been lost on me. Though a car laden with camping gear doesn't leave a lot of room for a mountain bike. Now, before you all start commenting on how so many of you do just that, and how your trips are to include your cycle ride down a mountain, please, I'm just sort of generalising. Now, at the NEC, there was many a company showing off their cycle carriers, and if you shop around, there are no end of examples on the internet for you to choose from rear carriers to roof racks. All have their positives, though at times you might think that the world is conspiring against you. Very popular at the moment are the e-bikes. These have brought many an ex-cyclist back to cycling, as they are not only easier to pedal, they ensure you actually make it back from your journey. Now, I'm sure this isn't going to surprise anybody, but over the years, I've converted a fair few bikes to become e-bikes. The thing is, if you've got a bike you're comfortable with, you're happy with, you've had it for years, why put it to one side when you can just convert it over? The basic kit costs you probably about 200 to 300 quid. It comes complete with a new wheel with a motor built in, a controller, all the gizmos and bits and instructions. It just bolts to your bike and a few zip ties and you're away. The batteries do cost a bit more, probably everything from 150 to £200 plus. But obviously the bigger the battery, the greater the range. But it really is a simple job to convert a bike. Now, I'm not the sort of person who goes diving into skips. Well, not normally. And then only with permission. But some time ago, I was wandering down the road and I spotted this. It had been left out all through the winter, and the air around here is full of salt. It had rusted. The wheels didn't even turn. The chain was seized. The battery had died and the tyres were flat. It was in a right state. But as these sort of bikes go for about £1,000, I thought it was worth the effort. I've replaced the battery, replaced the tyres, and I've got it running. It works treat. This is especially good for the car. Now, as you can tell, this bike is no lightweight, as in without the battery, it weighs in at about 18 kilograms. That's nearly £40 in old money. And with the battery still attached, as you see here, it's about £46. But it will carry a person of up to 20 stone, so even I scrape in nicely. It zips along happily at about 15 miles per hour, and the hills are a breeze. Its range is about 15 to 25 miles, depending on the terrain and how much effort you put into your cycling. And there's no need for a cycle rack with this bike, as it just breaks down and folds up neatly to be stored in the back of the car, as in this case, though I have even stood it on the back seats, and even slept alongside of it on trips. And so, with the aid of your bike, you can now leave your car securely parked up and go off exploring with some degree of comfort and without the risk of somebody pinching your preferred camping spot. Having a small folding bike such as this, and you're not restricted to just visiting the pub, cafe, or shop. And if you manage to acquire one of these small stowaway bikes, you will find that they sit well in the small luggage bays on trains. On buses, however, you will need a protective storage bag and a fastening strap to secure it, and it's still at the driver's discretion. But I think it's the ease in which they open up the countryside that really does it for me. You can't beat the cooling breeze whilst you gently cycle your way on a summer's evening. It certainly adds another dimension to your trip away. Remember, they don't take up as much room on country lanes, walkways, or even towpaths, and it makes exploring towns so much more exciting. I should point out that despite the fact you're seeing me without a helmet, that wearing cycle protective gear is a really good idea, as is carrying with you a good quality cycle lock. Well, finally, we've come to the end of this vlog. I hope you didn't mind me going off on one on cycling, but I thought it might be useful. In the next video, I'll be definitely going on a trip somewhere and camping, but I'll also be talking about how to deal with the problem of midges. So please come back and tune in on that one, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you so very much for watching as always. Bye for now.